During this last module, I will provide you with suggestions for reporting the data obtained from external, import, and commercial monitoring activities. I will also emphasize the importance of using the information collected during monitoring activities and the data analysis results as the foundation for program modifications. To conclude, I will leave you with some final thoughts about the content of this course. First up, reporting data. Reporting related to external monitoring was covered previously. To recap, the mill should receive a report from the Food Control Authority or other designated entity shortly after each audit and inspection visit. The report should include the audit checklist, observations made during the visit, results of rice sample analyses, recommendations, and any required corrective actions. For import monitoring, border control officials should prepare a report for the fortified rice and fortification inputs that have entered the country. This should be done quarterly at the beginning of the program. After you are sure the program is running smoothly, these reports can be done twice a year or annually. The fortified rice section of the report should include these terms: the amount of fortified rice imported, the number of batches that were accompanied by an appropriate certificate of analysis, the number of batches that were tested qualitatively, the number of batches that were fortified as confirmed by a qualitative test, the number of batches that were tested quantitatively, and the number of batches that complied with the specifications of the fortification standard based on quantitative test results. In the report, fortified rice data should be categorized by rice type, producer, and brand if possible. We'll look at an example in a moment. The fortification input section of the report should include these items: the amount of each product imported, the number of batches that were accompanied by an appropriate certificate of analysis, the number of batches that were tested quantitatively, the number of batches that were compliant with the fortification input specifications of the fortification standard, if applicable. In the report, data should be categorized by type of fortification input, such as fortificant blend or fortified kernels, and producer. This chart reports on fortified rice for the period of January through March from Border Control Site Number 5. The type of rice is fortified long-grain white rice as noted at the top of the chart. The two producers in this example are Rice is Good and Best Rice. 3 brands from Rice is Good and 2 brands from Best Rice were imported during the period. The chart provides details about the amount of fortified rice imported, number of COAs, number of qualitative and quantitative tests, and the test results for each brand. A similar chart for each fortification input should also be included in the report. You can see here a chart for fortified kernels. Imports were received from 2 producers. Both batches that were analyzed complied with the fortified kernel specifications of the fortification standard. For commercial monitoring, laboratories responsible for receiving and testing the fortified rice should produce quarterly reports at the beginning of the program. After the program is running smoothly, these reports can be produced twice a year or annually. The reports should list the following: number and percent of rice samples that were fortified, quantitative results for each fortified sample, number and percent of fortified samples that complied with the specifications of the fortification standard. The reports should be categorized by rice type, producer, and brand if feasible. A summary report of all regulatory monitoring data should be compiled at least annually. The report can be outlined like you see here. First, it is always helpful to introduce the fortification program and provide some background information. This can be followed by the central part of the report, which describes the indicators included in the report, explains the data collection methods, shares the results of the data analyses, and interprets those results. The closing portion of the report can list achievements and challenges in addition to recommendations. It is very important that the country's monitoring plan designate the entity responsible for writing the summary reports. The responsible party could be the multi-sector alliance or a committee within that alliance. Another option could be the Statistics Division of the Ministry of Health, which may also act as the central collection center for the rice fortification program. Summary reports should be made available to all key rice fortification stakeholders, such as involved rice millers, government agencies, international organizations, and civic groups. Key findings from monitoring summary reports should be shared with the public as well. This can be done in a variety of ways, such as via presentations, a newspaper article, radio or television media coverage, or a government website. Think about what would work best for your country. It is recommended to store all data collected during regulatory monitoring activities in a database designated for the country's rice or food fortification program. Accumulating data in one central location makes it easy for assigned stakeholders to conduct the periodic data analyses. Reports prepared from external, import, and commercial monitoring activities should be stored at the Food Control Authority or other designated entity, and at the Central Collection Center for the Rice Fortification Program, if different. Audit and inspection reports produced from external monitoring activities should additionally be stored at respective rice mills for reference purposes. A copy of each monitoring summary report should be kept on file at the Central Collection Center for the Rice Fortification Program. Now, let's move on to using the results of data analyses to inform program modifications. During the planning stage of the Rice Fortification Program, stakeholders make informed decisions based on the known or estimated nutritional status of the population, the funding and human resources that can be committed, the technical capacity of the rice mills and the laboratories, and the quantity of rice that is imported versus produced locally, to name a few variables. But over time, the program will evolve. Monitoring educates stakeholders about the status of the rice fortification program. If the results of data analyses indicate that the fortification program is functioning well and is on track to meet its objectives, celebrate the progress. If, however, the results suggest that the program is not functioning as hoped, the monitoring summary report should provide practical recommendations for modifying or evolving the program. For instance, the summary report might advise an amendment to the iron specification of the fortification standard. Or it might recommend tighter border control at the port due to a high proportion of unfortified rice available in the surrounding area. However, how do such recommendations become reality? The multi-sector alliance, with representatives from the public, private, and civic sectors, should take responsibility for reviewing each summary report in depth and gathering stakeholders to catalyze action. When stakeholders meet to discuss how to move forward with the recommendations, it will be important to agree upon priority modifications, assign duties to relevant stakeholders, schedule future meetings, develop a timeline for action, and set deadlines. These factors increase the likelihood that program changes will be achieved in a timely manner. Just a few more items and then you're done. At a basic level, you should now be able to recall key monitoring concepts and feel more confident in your ability to engage in monitoring activities. Please share this new knowledge with your colleagues and tell them about this course. The next step is to put your new knowledge to use. If your country has a monitoring system, take some time to assess its strengths and weaknesses based on what you have learned here. If your country does not have a monitoring system, gather some like-minded people to start the planning process. The Food Fortification Initiative's website has some additional resources to help you. Finally, I'll leave you with 4 key points from the course. First, the goal of a national rice fortification program is to improve the nutrient intake and, by association, the nutritional status of your country's population. Always remember that by engaging in this initiative, you are helping people become smarter, stronger, and healthier. Mothers, fathers, grandparents, school-age children, and especially developing babies. Next, monitoring helps to inform you about whether or not your fortification program is functioning as intended. Without monitoring, you are investing in the initiative blindly. Third, the primary emphasis of external monitoring should be the technical audit. Assuming that quality assurance and quality control protocols are written, followed, and documented, you can be reasonably sure the rice distributed and sold from those mills is properly fortified, even without conducting quantitative analyses. Lastly, for monitoring to be worthwhile, the data must be analyzed and the results used to inform program change and growth. On behalf of GAIN, FFI, and the IGP Institute of KSU, I'd like to acknowledge all individuals who made guest appearances, reviewed course materials, and provided videos, photos, and examples to enhance the course content. And congratulations to all participants who successfully completed this course. I wish you much success with your fortification efforts.